What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. It's 2022. This is the first video of the new year. And with the new year, I thought I was gonna bring in, some more content about real estate. Real estate really took up a lot of time in a positive way of the end of 2021, and it's gonna be a big part of my work in this channel in 2022. So I thought that'd be a great way to kind of just introduce the year with this first video. So with this video, we're gonna talk about really the difference, for at least my experience with being a millennial, buying and selling real estate, because I think there's a huge difference. So with that, if you're interested, let's get into it. So real quick, before we get into the whole kind of meat and bones of the video and really talking about the difference between buying and selling, and I guess the difference between the process and also the emotional difference that it takes on a person to buy and sell, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It really helps grow the channel. Everybody that's enjoying the content about art, real estate, cars, everything that I'm trying to put out. Now with that, let's get into the video. Alright guys, so I want to start this video basically as a little bit of a rewind. Let me kind of go into story mode, I guess. Back in 2019, I purchased my first property, and that was a great experience. I worked with a really good realtor. His name was Isaac, and walked me through the process. But again, I wasn't a real estate agent at the time. I was a brand new buyer, so it was a totally new experience. And with that, as a buyer, in my opinion, and also if there's anything in this video that you guys have experience with or have dealt with in the past or anything like that, please hit those comments and let's start a discussion about real estate, about buying and selling, about your experience and maybe what you guys went through. And with this video, I'll tell you guys my experiences. So when I went to buy, in my opinion, buying is a lot of fun. When you're buying, you have to go through the pre-approval process, you have to get your credit score to where it needs to be and all of that stuff, obviously. But once you're in the position and ready to actually go shopping for your house, that's a lot of fun, because you and your realtor are basically just going through properties that are available, going to open houses, going to showings, and really looking at just what you like and getting a feel for what you might want to live in and what you might want to buy. It's a really fun process. Yes, is there some intensity and seriousness behind it? Yes, because you're going to sign papers on multi-$100,000 loan to buy the property. But it's a much more relaxed and calm experience. You just get to kind of float through the process and just do things step by step and go see properties. Beyond that, a buyer also has plenty of opportunities during the real estate transaction process to just say, hey, you know what? Because of this in the inspection or because of A, B, and C, I'm gonna dip out on this transaction and I'm no longer interested. The buyer has plenty of opportunity during the transaction process to take a step back and to remove themselves from the deal. When it comes to being a seller, it's totally different. So before I get into the seller stuff, let me kind of break down what it takes to be a buyer, and then we'll get into the selling part. So just a couple tips for you guys out there that might be in the market to buy. You guys get the best interest rates possible from mortgage companies and from lenders when you get your credit score above a 740. So if you can get your credit score above that level, you can really get some of the best rates out there. If your credit score is below that, it's not going to impact your ability to get a loan, but it might just impact the interest rate of that loan. So one of the first things that realtors and people suggest to people that are trying to buy their first home or buy a home in general is to make sure you get your credit score to where it needs to be. But then after that, you get your pre-approval letter from the lender that you choose to work with, and you can also shop around to a few different lenders to see which will approve you, for what amounts and stuff like that and what contingencies. And then you can get started shopping for the house. And again, that's really just a fun process. You get to go through and really figure out where you want to live, the styles, different architecture. And it's an opportunity, again, during the whole process where the buyer really does have a chance, if they're unsatisfied during an inspection or along the process, basically in any capacity, where they can step away and say, hey, maybe that's not the deal for me, maybe that's not the house for me. Flipping it, being a seller, that's when I'll fast forward. So I purchased in 2019. Had a great time, like I said, going out to look at properties, going to visit them, seeing what I was approved for and all of that. Great time. Flip that to 2021. And actually, I guess the start of this year in 2022, I got my real estate license and I went through the process of being a seller. Totally different experience. So I guess we'll break down how it differs, but let's get into the sell process. So when it comes to selling a property, normally if you're not a realtor, you're gonna work with a real estate brokerage, you're gonna hire a realtor, you're gonna go through that agreement process, and they're gonna list your house. Now, before you even do that, you're probably going to go through various steps of renovations, and you're going to obviously live in the property for a certain amount of time. For this example with my property, I did what's called house hacking, and big shout out to a few people on YouTube, including Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin, and there's some others, Andre, forgetting his last name, Andre Jig, who basically show some different ways in their videos and in their content that you can house hack. And I kind of dove a little bit into that and really wanted to get some experience with that. So with my first property purchase, that's basically what I did. So in 2019, I bought it. I renovated the majority of the property. Put a brand new kitchen in. I'll actually, maybe right here, something like that, I'll add that link to that video. Did a renovation video of the kitchen. Totally new kitchen, new counters, new appliances, new backsplash, really high-end materials. Totally flipped the look and quality of the kitchen. Put in a new back deck, put in a new front door, put in a new master bathroom. Really did a lot of work to make it really, really nice and to make it, you know, I guess 21st century, and to make it modern and to make it to where young people or a young couple or millennials would walk into the property and say, hey, wow, I want to live here, or I want to buy this, compared to the unrenovated, straight from the 70s, 80s that it was previously. So during the last 2 years, I had to put in all of the work, time and money, scheduling, etc. to get all of those projects done. So that was a major aspect of owning. And then when it comes to selling, the way that you actually get your profit really, or see a profit when you sell a property, is either if you held on to it for a very long time and just saw some natural market appreciation, or if you did what I did, where you're living in a property and you're renovating it and you're trying to improve it. And then after 2 years, so this is something that I learned on one of those other YouTube channels that I mentioned before, if you're living in a property and it's your primary residence for 2 out of 5 years, when you go to sell that property, you don't pay any capital gains tax or any taxes on that profit because it was your primary residence, which is an amazing little, I guess, loop. It's not really a loophole because it takes a lot of work, but it's an amazing little zone that if you decide to put in the work can really provide a lot of benefit. So once you went through the buy process, you're in a property, you're now, deciding to either renovate it or hold on to it, whatever that might be. I decided that I was going to do the house hack thing, and I was going to live in the property while I renovated it. And then it comes time to sell. So when you're coming time to sell the property, not only do you have to take all the necessary steps to make sure it looks presentable, but then also, hopefully, if you're going to look to get top dollar for the property, make those necessary renovations, swap out those old appliances, or do the things that the property really needs to have done to make sure that it's presentable to new buyers and new clients that might be interested in buying it. On the seller side, you really have to go through a lot. You really want to make sure that all of the boxes are checked to make sure that that person on the other side, the buyer that's coming in to just check it out and tour it and kind of relaxed, in a relaxed manner, so to speak, go through that process. On the other side, you have to get that whole experience ready for them. So when they walk into the home, they feel the space. They get a feel for what their furniture might look like in there. Do you stage it? Do you not stage it? From my understanding, you should always stage a property. I'm still new, but I'm always going to stage my properties. So make sure it looks proper for your photographs. Make sure there's a lot of photos on the MLS in your listing. There's just so many different things that go into the seller side versus the buyer side, where you get pre-approved, you work with a realtor, you try to find the perfect place, you submit an offer, hopefully that offer gets accepted, and then you move on and you move into that house. The seller side has so many more nuances and caveats and things that you have to do. And then also there's the difference in, I don't know if I would use the word liability, but difference in experience when it comes to being a seller versus a buyer. The buyers have every chance in the world to say, hey, this inspection, maybe this wasn't the year I was looking for, and due to this and this reason, I'm gonna back out of the deal. On the seller side, once you agree to the contract terms, once you accept an offer, you have to, the property is off the market. It's now pending. And when it's pending, you're not showing the property, you're not having, extended new offers. You might be accepting backup offers, but when the property is pending, that means it's under contract. So you're not shopping it around anymore. The buyers still have plenty of opportunity during that, depending on your closing date, a 4 to 6 week period to back out of the deal. But as a seller, you have to go through all of the steps with those buyers to make sure that everything is on point, to make sure the inspections go well, make sure that any inspection objections or anything that they would like to have fixed in the property gets fixed, anything that gets updated needs to get updated. to make sure that every single box is checked along the process. And as a seller, there's quite a bit of boxes. Obviously, those same boxes apply to being a buyer, but it's less of an intensive experience from my process of buying and selling, especially because when I did it, it was my own home. So you really have a lot of energy, time, money, stress kind of worked into the situation that you really want it to go smoothly. So you really go out of your way to make sure that everything is done, to the T, 100%, so that your buyers are happy. Again, on the buyer side, you kind of just get to shop around and hope that your offer gets accepted, and then you sign the various paperwork and you send in the documents that you need to send in to get that fully approved and get that worked on. The seller side, again, I know that I'm flip-flopping back and forth, and hopefully this video is making sense for you guys and providing some value. The seller side is just a lot more stressful because, again, once that buyer, let's say that first buyer, again, decides to back out for whatever reason, maybe they couldn't acquire the right financing, they back out. Then as a seller, you have to relist that property on the MLS, and then a lot of people in their mind wonder, well, it was sold, what happened? Is there something wrong with it? It puts an aura around the property that can impact the sale. Most of the time, obviously, it doesn't unless there's something seriously wrong with the property. But it does delay the process. Closing might get delayed a week, 2, 3 weeks compared to your initial date. There's just a lot of different factors when it comes to the difference of buying versus selling. And in my opinion, buying is a lot more of a relaxing process, a lot more of a overall smooth process just from beginning to end through the shopping process, the pre-approval process, and what you need to do to buy your home versus everything that you need to do to get ready to sell a home. The improvements, the renovations, just the list of everything, making sure that every dot is crossed, every T is crossed and every dot is marked. And it's just a different experience. There's more anxiety, there's more stress on the seller side than the buyer. Because on the buyer side, again, if something doesn't work out, the buyers can just go check out another home. When on the seller side, that's your property. So if an inspector finds something wrong with it, or if you need to do a major renovation or something like that, the seller is on the hook for that cost and for that renovation money and all of that. So it's just an extra layer that the buyer doesn't have when they're going through the real estate process. So I don't want to ramble too much in this video. There's going to be a lot of real estate content this year. I've got another real estate video coming up in a little bit, just talking about the sale process and kind of how I made some of my first money in real estate this year. And I guess also how I went from getting my license just 6 months ago to already selling my first property at the start of 2022. So I'm very excited to get started in real estate. Again, drop a like, drop a comment on this video. What was your experience? If you've had an experience buying or selling real estate, did you think buying was a little bit of a more fun, smooth process? Was it kind of just enjoyable going to different properties with your realtor, checking out the houses, submitting offers, and then finally getting one that you got accepted? And then if you've sold a property, what do you guys think? Was that more stressful than buying? If you've done both, really just hit the comments. Also hit the comments with any questions you guys might have. And until next time, until the next episode, much love everyone. Peace.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.